Hey guys, so our fishing method is traps, and presenting today, my name is Enoch Hunt.
Hi, all. I'm Warren White.
And I'm Victor Gonzalez.
So how does this method work? There are many kinds of traps used for fishing depending on the local conditions and the behavior of the fish. And traps usually remain underwater for long periods of time because the fish stay alive underwater and they're relatively unharmed. And there are two types of traps that are mainly used. Portable traps were usually in the shape of pots or bottles, and then fixed and semi-fixed structures. So portable traps are primarily used in large bodies of water, and the target species are bottom-dwelling crustaceans and mollusks like crabs, shrimps, lobsters, whelks, and other target species are eels, octopuses, cod, stickleback, flounder, skates, and trouts. And then two pictures that I have is of the blue crab, and that's a commonly caught crab, and also the octopus, and also a picture of an octopus, which I think is pretty cool. And here are a few examples of some portable traps. We have the Atlantic cod pot, the basic bottle trap, the boo-boo trap, the crab trap, the eel trap, the frike net, the lobster pot, the octopus trap, and the stickleback or soda bottle trap. And so we have a picture of the octopus trap, and it's basically a big pot which is made out of ceramics, and it's dropped in the bottom of the ocean, and it's left there for long periods of time. And then octopuses like thinking that it's their home, and they crawl inside, and after a while humans comes and like pulls it out, and the octopuses don't like escape because they kind of think it's their home, and then they're kind of harvested that way. And then frike nets are casted in like shallow ponds of water, and schooling fish usually are caught inside of that, so there's like a big yield, but it's also a high chance of bycatch. And also there's the bubo trap, which is used in um um corallus and like kind of rocky areas where it's hard for like people to cast a net. So when the since it's woven, it can like drop down and like fall on the rock in a way that like doesn't allow the animal to escape. So then we have fixed and semi-fixed structures, which are primarily used in river, streams, ponds, and coasts. And the target species are much larger fishes like salmon, Aloska, ice, sockeye, and then also river and coastal demersal species. So an example of a river and coastal demersal species is cod, which I have a picture of. And also we have a picture of the king salmon, which is a commonly caught fish with the fixed and semi-fixed structures. So a few examples of the fixed and semi-fixed structures are barrier nets, fish corrals, fish nets, fish weirs, fish wheels. And a cool example is the double heart of stacked stones, which is in Taiwan. So the double heart of stacked stones is basically, which is the picture, which you can see in the top left. And it's basically a coastal structure which was made. And as tide rise, fish swim in, and they're caught when the tide drops, they're caught inside and harvested. And then the fish wheel, it kind of uses the tide of a river, and it turns and catches fish that way. And then the fish weir is casted along a river, and it has like a crosshatch pattern. And when fish swim, they're kind of blocked, and then they're harvested that way. So here's a video of an Alaskan salmon fish wheel. So we can see it uses the current of the river. So it's pretty like, once it's built, it's pretty like, it doesn't take much human effort, and it has pretty high yield. As we can see, like it's just flowing pretty slow, and it's catching like 2 fish, which is pretty high yield, I would say, for like not much human effort. Yeah, thank you.
Similar to like any fishing method, just about, there are some bycatch issues associated with trapping, and comparatively to like a lot of the other types of industrial fishing or aqua farming, like there's often less bycatch than there are with something like trolling or using like a drop net or a drag net, but it can still happen. So one of the main issues is that a lot of a lot of traps have vertical lines or horizontal lines, which either connect them to buoys on the surface, which help with like the location of them, or like horizontal lines, which connect them in like a long string along like the bottom of the seafloor. An issue with this is marine mammals and turtles, like something like dolphins, whales, or a turtle can get caught in these like vertical or horizontal lines, and then they can't get up to the surface to get air, and they can actually drown while stuck in these. And then there are also invertebrates and finfish, which can get caught along with a targeted species that you're trying to trap for. But the thing with this is you can generally safely release a lot of the bycatch in traps, especially depending on the trap, easier than you could from a large net because their gills like won't be damaged, or if they're too small for the trap and you can't keep it. Generally, once you like raise the trap out of the surface to harvest all the fish, you can just throw back what you want. And if this is done in like a sustainable, like gentle manner, you can generally like, throw back what you don't want, and it'll be okay. So the majority of trapping, when done properly, has little impact on ecosystems in the seafloor, but of course there are exceptions to this. And with appropriate gear and release devices, most traps should be retained, not create waste, meaning most traps should be like effectively recovered and not just like left as debris on the seafloor, which could float around and damage like the ecosystems. And then the seabed might be slightly affected by the trap's contact with the bottom. And this could happen whenever these traps are like initially dropped. It's going to have some impact with the bottom, or during a storm or like some kind of weather thing where the traps are really like moving quickly and like erratically along the seafloor, and it can damage benthic dwelling organisms. And then certain traps can cause more damage to the seabed floor than others due to like a certain trap dragging more along like the seafloor, like rolling or something, and it can cause just more damage the more it moves. And then lost traps and pieces that like fall off traps can lead to overall pollution of an ecosystem. So up on the upper left, you can see a line of traps that are all connected by a horizontal line across the bottom, and then two vertical lines. And you can see the buoy, which helps the fishermen locate like where their traps are, and they just can pick it up from that. And that's also where like marine animals or turtles can get stuck and drown. Upper right, you can see like 3 examples of just different traps along the bottom, and then you can see kind of like how like just a trap with a vertical line and a buoy would look. And you just go to the buoy and you pull up the line and you check the trap. And then the bottom, we have some crabs stuck in crab traps.
All right. And moving on, y'all might be wondering what are some other alternatives we can do aside from trapping, because even though trapping does only do minimal damage, it can still cause some environmental impacts, and some good alternatives is rod and reel fishing, and it is the most environmentally friendly, but it's hard to keep up with demand. And what rod and reel fishing is that like the type of fishing a lot of Native Americans would do, or like that just you would do for leisure, just one hook per line, and very simple. But I know ideally in like this society and like just our world, the demand is very high. So if you wanted to be able to keep up with demand a little bit better, long line fishing is good too, but there's a higher risk of bycatch and environmental damage from this method. In a perfect world, the best alternative would be not to consume fish anymore, just to allow the natural environment to replenish and heal itself. And and this method can be seen to be banned in certain conditions and certain agreements and treaties. Like for example, in the 2010 California Code and the Fish and Game Code Article 1 under traps, it's section 9000 through 9024. It states, except as expressly authorized in this article, no person shall use a trap to take any finfish, mollusk, or crustacean in the waters of the state for commercial purposes. So even if there isn't any bans or strict regulations on trapping itself, it's been shown that a lot of states do have their own restrictions on how big and the dimensions that the cages are allowed to be. And here are our sources stating where we got our information. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.